Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's video, and welcome back after the summer. I hope you've had times of relaxation and refreshment, especially spiritual refreshment as we start this new season together. I hope you'll indulge me over the next few weeks as I anticipate exploring a number of themes that emerged from the Lambeth Conference that finished nearly a month ago. When you see this, I'm recording it from the last day. There's a scene described in 2 Chronicles 7 where Solomon has just finished the dedication prayer for the newly constructed temple. As he finishes praying, the presence of God becomes so powerful and overwhelming that they can no longer carry on going about their normal religious business. There were times like that at Lambeth as we worshipped God together in many different languages and entered into the experience of many cultures. It was a foretaste of what I think heaven will be like. But it wasn't just worship. There was a sense of God's presence in the conversations. Some of my fellow bishops live and minister in situations of almost unimaginable danger and poverty. Speaking to them, I almost wondered sometimes whether I was a real Christian or not. The 2 Sudanese bishops in my Bible study group have to spend a third of their time farming to grow food for their families. There's no salary or stipend. Other bishops questioned one of the Lambeth calls about evangelism, not because they don't think evangelism is a vital part of Christian mission, but because if they do it in their context, they're likely to get shot. We were invited to consider what these experiences meant for our own practice of ministry when we came home. I'm not naive enough to think that we can transfer some of the practices of others into our own situation because our context is so very different. However, a unifying theme across all cultures was the emphasis on Christian discipleship as the key to church health and growth. I came away more convinced than ever that if we are to have any future at all as the Church of England in this diocese, or even deserve one, we must become a more spiritual community, not a more assimilated one. A Canadian bishop challenged me with what he sees as the equal and opposite delusions of people in his context. Both are based on a failure to recognise that we are not in Christendom anymore. One group he described as traditionalists think that if we only went back to the old ways of worshipping, people would come flooding back. This is patently absurd. Very few people are sitting in their houses on a Sunday morning thinking if only St Gabriel's up the road got their worship style right, I'd be up there like a shot. But he also described a more progressive delusion. Again, it's rooted in Christendom thinking. It goes along the lines of if only we removed all the cultural and moral teaching barriers and started looking like the culture completely, then everyone would start flooding back. But not only do statistics put a lie to this, but one might ask the question, why would they? If there's no challenge, why bother to change your life and follow Christ? I'm more convinced than ever that prayer and total dependence on God must be our priority. Just before I went to Lambeth, I confirmed a candidate from a Buddhist background. She had found Buddhism no longer satisfied her. One day she heard a voice that she now knows was the Holy Spirit saying, "Buy a Bible and read it." She started going to her local church and found there a welcoming community who walked with her on her spiritual search until eventually she gave her life to Christ. It was a very joyous moment. I've heard similar stories from other ordinary parishes. These didn't emerge from clever planning or a grand strategy. It was the glorious sovereign work of God. But she wouldn't have become a disciple unless she'd encountered that welcome. Now, if I'm honest, there are churches in our diocese that are pretty grumpy, and I'm not sure she would have had the same experience if she'd walked into one of them. It doesn't cost anything to smile and be welcoming. I wouldn't want to be simplistic and associate that sovereign work of God with specific prayers offered on her behalf or even in that parish. But such stories inspire me that God is at work, and whether we have many resources or none at all, like our friends in Sudan, we can pray. A prayerful, dependent people are a community with which God can work, and to whom he might entrust the people he is calling to follow him. That's why I'm calling us all to 2023 as a year of prayer. Strategy has value, but prayer is the time-worn path to growth and life. The next phase of our life together, I invite us to go deeper into God. Therein lies a fruitful future.